Black water. It sits below a willow tree. The moon shines down upon it, its reflection swallowed by the pool. Soft winds blow through the pines, but they do not disturb the water. There is silence for a moment, and then the willow tree is surrounded by roaring tears in reality. Many beings step through, ushered on by perceived voices. There is no voice, only the wind disturbing the willow's long branches. The pool, too, is disturbed, but not by the wind. A moon shines within it, yet it is not the one from the sky above. She rises to the surface, breathing in the fragrant air and running a hand over a branch of the willow. A sigh escapes her lips as a moment passed, and a new form arises from the pool. An ugly thing of steel and wrath and blood and something darker. The same dark within that black sea. The moon looks longingly to her skyward sister for but a moment, before laying a genteel hand upon the beastly war machine before her. She pulls herself into it, and it takes on a semblance of life. Sirens blare like the howl of carrion beasts, and the voice of a god. Amidst the thunderous noise, the moon speaks, and all hear her words.
You who have come here know this. He wishes to learn of this world, and I am his hand. My will shall not be denied.
There is a pause. A light glows from within the creature of steel. It is the light of a violent end. It is the light of his wrath made manifest.
Do not interrupt my interrogation of this realm, and you shall be unharmed.
The machine stands, its malformed carapace marked with ancient symbols and modern heraldry, and the scars of courtly sparring fueled by barely concealed contempt. Those around it began to speak as well. The moon-child waits, bathed in scarlet light, dreaming beneath the willow shadow. Yamida Noiryo was a pious and loyal soul, and never one to complain, regardless of what task was given to him, instead tackling it with gutso. It was these qualities that saw him catch the attention of the local daimyo, and, after a number of trials, saw him earn the rank of Hatamoto. Now, in this foreign field, Norio surveyed his battle-weary fellows and the corpses that laid around them. The fighting had been intense, but victory was theirs. Turning to head back to the rift that had brought them to this place, a remarkably rare noise filled his ears. A crackling pop of a new rift forming with a distinctly wild landscape on the other side, centered around a massive tree, its bark and branches in a constant state of flux.
We of the Willow summon you, our most loyal believers,
came a chorus of voices from around Norio, as if every bug, bird, and beast around spoke with a single divine voice. The others ready their weapons, but Norio simply froze, trying to comprehend his suspicions.
Matanushi?
He asked under his breath.
Come, faithful, prove your devotion. Fight for us among the Fangwood,
replied the voices as the vista beyond the portal continued to shift. Norio thought for a moment, struggling to figure out what that being before him was, but all thoughts led back to the same conclusion. And so he got on his knees and bowed deeply, gaining puzzled looks from the others.
My lord?
Asked one of the samurai.
Bow your head before the spirit of the wilds, he replied.
the others quickly following suit. The echoing voice of the one called Matanushi continued, explaining the betrayal of its kin, the threat it poses to all existence, and what would happen should they help contain the threat.
You are our chosen. Enact our will, or invite the darkness that awaits us all. The choice is yours.
The voices concluded. Norio stood for a moment before commanding the others forward. But my lord, the daimyo, another samurai started. Will understand, he interjected. Divine forces beyond him, beyond the Saishu, beyond the shogun himself, have come to us for help. Who are we to refuse them? Besides, if this Silex succeeds, then not even Faiju will be able to help us. The words weighed heavy on the minds of those present, but one by one, they swore their loyalty to Norio, and, with their Hatamoto at their head, they steeled themselves to the trails ahead. It was quite fortunate that King Charles XII and his army were able to make their way back to Sweden despite the setbacks they encountered. For the fatherland needed its king now more than ever. For although a truce was established with their neighbors of Russia, Denmark, and Poland-Lithuania, threats still assailed their borders, as showcased on the campaign map the king and his generals now examined. To the east, along the border with Russia, the Automata of Iron raided the Finnish territories. Though Marshal Renskjöld was successful in beating back these attacks, fighting has been fierce and casualties worryingly high. The king fully intended to take advantage of the surprise lull in the fighting to develop a proper counter against these metal abominations. The Lord above knows they'll need it. Another thorn in the Empire's side was the cult of Faith County, which had gained enough influence in their mainland territories to stage a rebellion. Though a swift defeat of the rebels had ensured that they wouldn't lose their claim, the agents of the cult had dug into the surrounding countryside and have proven difficult to remove. Finally, to the west, along the border with Norway, marched their most relentless enemy to date, the Banana Brigade. When Charles had first received word of them, he had the officer in question demoted for drinking while on duty. But as more and more engagements took place, they proved to be very real and very dangerous. Were it not for their firepower and zealotry, he would have found the situation embarrassingly humorous. And as if the Empire's current troubles were not enough, the current meeting was about to begin when an official of the church known as Father Joachim barged into the room. The guards apologizing profusely for the disturbance before he spoke. "My liege, I must speak with you immediately. I received a vision from God." That last declaration was enough to spur everyone into action. The king ordering a chair be brought out for the aging father, who looked worse for wear. "Regain your strength, then tell me everything." A minute of heavy breathing passed before the father regained his composure and began to tell of his experience. "It happened this morning after I had concluded Mass. I was making my way to my study when it felt a great weight had suddenly been placed on my shoulders. I was scarcely able to breathe as the vision filled my sight. There was a forest overcome by fog, emanating a dark aura that I could not describe. Then an otherworldly being of unholy power. While this happened, the voice of God echoed within my mind, saying, 'He has disrupted the balance of the universe. He must be contained once more. Return him to the Fangmoor.' This left the king slightly confused. Was this Fangmoor another world? But before he could voice his question, he too was overcome by a vision. He saw the dark forest of Father Joachim's vision, and beyond it, a gate which led to a familiar battleground, Narva. Without a moment's hesitation, he turned to General Leeuwenhout. "How many troops can we spare for this mission?"
5,000 have recently been mobilized, my king.
"I suppose that will have to do, but be ready to send me more. I'll be honest, this will be a difficult task. But God himself would not trust us with this task if he did not believe we could do it. It is our duty to ensure his will be done, and our duty to safeguard our people and our nation. We march for Narva in a week's time." It was a dark and cold night on the holy grounds of the church. High Priest Hierothane had been tending to the central shrine, lighting candles when a dark fog invaded the holy grounds. Before he or any of the guards within could react, a voice spoke from within the mist. It spoke of its kin and the threat it posed to the safety of reality. It implored Hierothane to aid in returning Silex to the Fangmoor. At first, the High Priest had thought the voice heretical, but eventually he accepted it as a message from God. "Very well. Not my will, but thine be done," he said, and as he stepped outside, he saw a rift closing, and within it, a forest oozing with fog was barely visible. A band of brothers had nearly just finished a purge before a voice called to them. "Hark! Come and see a crusade of contempt for your dying wish, a war for your heart's desire. Come, ye wise few, and fight for that which you seek. The Lord your God demands it." The brothers fell to their knees in prayer, quickly murmuring the words from the text reserved just for them. The portal remained open for some time, and they all withdrew in speculation, leaving one sacristan and a faithless to act as watchers, should something change. Hundreds of lycanthropic-robed figures sit in pews among the massive pillars of a church. Stained glass windows depicting similar figures fighting terrible monsters or leading militaries or giving tender care to the weak. Candles light the place, giant iron chandelier hand above, glowing with fire and melting wax, casting dancing light over the area. Through the massive round stained glass window, depicting a white-robed figure giving a sword to a lycanthrope, shines amber light down the main aisle between the pews. Banners with Latin text hang from the intimidatingly tall walls. Stone reliefs depict more events, trials, tribulations, and triumphs. Seals and parchment cover what isn't covered, and at the very far back of this impossibly large chapel stand lycanthropes in similar canvas tunics with iron crowns. Two figures stand before the altar, one in a large chair, the other at a podium. "We are on the precipice of redemption, brothers. A gift from the Most High, beset at our feet. This is not to be ignored. We must seize the wish while we draw breath."
"You delude yourself, Admonius. The Lord has not spoken to our kind since our penitent crusade was given to us by Michael. And even then, the Father did not speak directly," speaks the raspy, growling voice of the seated one. Snarls and hushed whispers overwent the crowd. "Perhaps the curse is to be broken with this gift. If the criminals upon the cross may be forgiven, so too shall we. The crusade shall end when all of our lives have been forfeit. You have delved into the book of man, I see. Those words and promises are not our own, Admonius. You know this. We are not men, lest you have forgotten. Therefore, the book of man is not our covenant. But think, Patriarch, a chance to free us, all of us, from the curse of the beast. Speak no more, this sacristan. You are out of line, ill-informed and a rebel. Continue your preaching, and a faithless you shall become.
Admonius, with a snarl and a huff, falls into the crowd and off at the podium. Another steps up in his place. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned.
Your sin shall be set free upon your martyrdom, Caius. Patience you must have. You are free to speak. What troubles you, my brother?
This demon, whatever it may be, spoke to our kin in the voice of our Lord. This heresy must be purged with utmost vigilance, vigor, and violence. Those who seek tainted treasure must repent of their fruitless faith, or be given the mercy of our blade.
I agree. It is a troubling conclusion that a creature may mimic the voice of the Most High. What say you all?
The crowd murmur quietly before coming to agreement.
Then come, brothers. Let us prepare ourselves so that we may send a force to intercept the sinful assault of the demon and its forces. Usque ad mortem!
The crowd echoes back in thunderous response. Usque ad mortem, bellum aeternum. I hope you enjoyed this next part of the Fangmoor campaign. I had intended to introduce all of the participating factions within a single video, but as you can see, this was going a bit long, so I'm splitting it into 2 parts. The other 5 participating factions will be introduced next week, so be sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with that. And if you enjoyed this video, consider liking and sharing. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.